Hi, I'm Stephanie Osborne. My friends and family call me Steph. I'm excited to announce that I am officially a registered and certified yoga instructor. So, this is a story about how yoga saved my life. Last year, 2019, as summer approached, I stepped into a full on, side eyed, couldn't make this stuff up midlife crisis. It's true, I was 42, things weren't perfect, but I thought they were pretty darn close. Had a fairly easy life except for any roles and responsibilities I took on. My husband adored me and treated me like a queen, mostly. No one's perfect, not even Barack and Michelle, but they're pretty close. We vacationed as a family anywhere I wanted, and our kids were healthy and they went to good schools. My body would suffer periodically from ulcerative colitis flare ups, and that had mostly to do with my eating and rarely a result of my stress. My life was pretty good. And then one day, when I was overwhelmed with all of my responsibilities and I couldn't put one more thing on my husband's plate, I looked for a safe distraction to relieve myself. Well, it's always safe when you start small, right? Call it a sugar binge, street or prescribed drugs, alcohol, another man or woman, gambling, shopping, nicotine, you name it. I got distracted and I got a high like you wouldn't imagine. And once I started, I couldn't seem to stop. I felt like I was going crazy. Suddenly, I was laser focused on the high. My business started to fail. I had to stop guiding meditation for a while. My family life was in turmoil, and this is a gentle understatement. I lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks, which initially I thought was a highlight of this crisis, but it wasn't healthy, and I went from fine to bones, and it wasn't cute. Even though I did take that opportunity to wear all the clothes that I had brought for that one day when I lose weight moment. I'm just going to be honest with you. I was doing some crazy stuff. The kind of stuff that you might see in a Tyler Perry drama. I was a zombie. And for the first time in my life, I didn't give a flying fig about anything except the next high. Even though everything was dying around me, I couldn't seem to stop. My friends, sister, and cousins surrounded me with support and advice. One friend asked if I needed to be committed, and she was serious. When I finally told my husband about my issue, he wanted to work with me and help me work through it, but I was on such an emotional roller coaster that he had to step back to honor himself and not get pulled into my whirlpool. One minute, I wanted to sell the house and move into a condo. The next, I wanted to expand our home. One day, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be married, and the next minute, I was contemplating having another baby. Terrence did research on what the hell is going on with my wife. She's acting crazy. And soon he suggested that I might be going through a midlife crisis. I saw a couple of therapists, a couple of psychologists, a couple spiritual teachers, and a couple life coaches. He said, the problem is that you're looking outside of yourself to fix something from within. You have to listen to your gut. But if I learned anything from this time, I know for sure, based on experience, that meditation really connected me to my true knowing and intuition. I started meditating about 25 years ago, and it's kept me sane. But in order to do some of the crazy stuff I was doing, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I chose to turn it off. You heard me right. The one thing that helps you see things clearly, gives you answers and definite knowing, I turned it off and went for the high. Well, during my pursuit of the feel great excitement, I noticed that those highs went from 150% to 100% down to 60% and often even lower. It never got back up to that 80%, but I kept chasing it. Periodically, I'd take breaks, and in those breaks, I would try to meditate. At first, my meditations were filled with thoughts of potential high moments. So I tried yoga. I went to Yoga Crew because it was close to my house and I purchased a yoga package with them like months prior, and the classes hadn't yet expired. I always felt welcomed at Yoga Crew. In 2019, Michelle, one of the owners, had agreed to sponsor Reclaiming the Goddess Within. It's a women's empowerment and mindfulness weekend that I host almost every summer. Paige, the lead yoga teacher over there at Yoga Crew, presented at my event. And because I loved her look so much, she agreed to be one of my models for my Equanimity t shirt. So I started going to Paige's classes sometimes twice a week and sometimes once every 3 weeks. When I'd go for just a while, through the breaths and the movements, things would become silent. The chatter would stop, and by the time I lie down for Shavasana, that's what ends the class, I'd be in stillness and I'd be crying, like trying not to make noise, but pretty certain that the folks around me could hear the sniffling or cat cry. Paige did this thing that always made me feel nurtured, and I intend to incorporate it into my class. Every now and then, she'd put a towel infused with herbal mist over my eyes. She turned her thumbs down to smooth out the towel over my eyelids. A little pressure, but not too much. And her fingertips gently touched the sides of my face. Then she'd carefully hold my head in her hands, lift it, and gently move it away from my shoulders, causing any tension to be released in the back of my neck. Then she'd walk away. And at the end, she'd burn a little Palo Santo, and the scent would cause the entire room to take a deep breath in and a slow one out. It was one of the most nurturing experiences I had over that time. It made me trust her even more. So one day I decided to call Paige to share my crisis. She listened and validated me as a whole person when I was feeling extremely incomplete and empty. What I experienced myself as a zombie-like state, she called the dark night of the soul, a soul shift. She encouraged me to keep honoring myself by meditating, standing in my power, and coming to class. I did here and there, and I also began meditating again, more consistently. Soon, Paige introduced the possibility of the yoga teacher certification. I never saw myself teaching it, so initially I rejected the idea. But over time, I began to imagine myself giving my meditation clients the kind of experiences she gave me. So I went for it. I learned so much about yoga over this time frame, the history and anatomy, and how to guide in a way that the student can understand what I'm teaching even if they aren't looking at me. I also started feeling confident again. During this time of clarity, I began to understand that in all the years I was married and with kids, I had absolutely no sense of autonomy. I literally went from living with my dad and my sister to living in the dorm with my roommate to living with my then boyfriend turned husband at 19 years old. My belief was that my existence, my value, my security started and stopped with my husband and kids. And since I was behind the scenes during the business, doing most of the business behind the scenes, and my husband was the talent that everyone admired, in my mind, my validation came from my association to him. For without him acknowledging me, how would anyone know all the work I was doing? It may be hard for some to understand, but here it is. The high that I was looking for was the detachment of existing for others, acceptance, approval, and validation. The allowing to exist as a whole person and be comfortable in my own skin regardless of whether T approved of something I was saying, wearing, or doing. regardless of whether my kids were excelling academically or flowing with the social norms, regardless of anything that was outside of me. And even though it seems that I just transferred the giving up of my power from my current reality to my drug of choice, still for the first time in my life, I really felt free. I didn't care about anything except the high. And because I cared so much about what everyone thought of me, that felt like freedom. I definitely didn't go about it the healthiest way. Like I said, I did some crazy, reckless, off the wall tomfoolery that had my loved ones concerned for my safety and well being. The same girlfriend that asked if I thought I should be committed, she commented towards the end of all of this that I'm a 100% kind of chick. Whether it's healthy or flat out crazy, I go in 100%. She admired that. Yeah, my midlife crisis changed me. And without yoga and meditation, I would not have the insight to understand the madness that took place. I know of people, women, who've gone through this exact same thing and were able to heal from observing me, a supposedly sane, healthy minded chick who really lost it for a moment so that she could step out of the box she'd created for herself. These sparks of awareness were the cushions between the concrete, the rubber on the blades, the tears behind the rage. It saved me. Well, this is my truth, and it ain't for everybody, but it's for somebody. I'm still trying to figure out what my new norm will look like and what I'm doing, but I know this for sure, hashtag Oprah, is that I can't go back to the box I was in. I know for sure that I have the bomb set of friends and family around me who love me and have my back 100%. I know that I'm fortunate to have my sweet husband and my kids in my life. I know that I am a whole person outside of anyone I'm attached to, outside of anything I have, and regardless of my perceived flaws. In the words of Mary Pickford, you can have a fresh start at any moment you choose. For this thing we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch with an open heart. I intend to continue these blogs on a regular basis, and I'm here to connect. So if you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. This will be a safe place to be authentic. Also, I hope one day to guide you through meditation or yoga class and create a positively feel-good, unforgettable experience for you. The yoga will be similar to what Paige offered because she was my teacher, but still very different with my own special flavor.